figure out how to sit in a chair.
Okay.
That video is stunningly gorgeous. And your voice is perfect, as you should know. If you don't, it's perfect.
I'm not on that video.
Well, her voice sounds like your voice, and it's perfect.
Okay.
So there you go.
Flatter your interviewer.
Yep.
And you'll get everywhere.
Flattery gets you everywhere. Forget the people that say it doesn't.
So if you haven't been here before, welcome to City Space and our curated cuisine interviews. I interview someone once a month on this stage. And you can please turn off the sound on your phones.
After you start following me on Instagram.
Yeah. They can still follow you.
Yes. Oh, that's right, quietly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Quietly.
I've gotten in trouble twice. We're 15 seconds in. This is not going well for me.
And I'm going to ask you about that.
Okay.
Your
Okay.
long attitude.
Uber.
So you can tweet, you can do, put us on Instagram, you can do whatever you like. Please use the at WBUR City Space. And if you'd like updates on what's going on this stage, you can sign up for wbur.org/newsletters. We take questions at the end of the interview, and on an app called Slido. You don't have to do anything but open a browser and go to slido.com, and then the code that you're typing in is CC107, maybe up there. No, CC107, and then you can ask questions. You may find that I've already asked everything that you want to know, so that
Drops mic again. This one.
That would be nice.
You won't possibly have a question that I haven't already thought of. Hello.
Okay.
Love you.
Okay. So I'm Sheryl Julian.
Good luck with those questions, guys.
I was the food editor for a long time for the Boston Globe, and I still write for them and do a little bit of reviewing. I am also an instructor at Boston University in the Masters of Gastronomy program. I teach food writing. My students are here tonight. Some of my past students are here. And I imagine that one of these days they will be up here and I will be in the audience as a proud mama. My guest, Tiffani Faison, was a James Beard semifinalist for Best Chef Northeast for the last 2 years. And she and her wife and business partner, Kelly Walsh, run Big Heart Hospitality. I love that name, which includes 4 restaurants, all in the Fenway: Sweet Cheeks Q, Tiger Mama, Fool's Errand, and their very latest one, Orfano. And the taste that they had outside were from
Orfano. It literally went on the menu today. We took the tomatoes off. Tomatoes were good for a very long time this year because we kept getting stretches of beautiful heat, and now we're done. So it's replaced the tomatoes on the Orfano menu.
So you were born in Germany when your father was stationed there, and then one of his posts was in Boston. Where was that?
No, my father's never even been to Boston.
Oh, okay. I thought that you lived here.
See how I just haven't. Just kidding.
No, I lived here as a child.
I did not.
Okay.
I had never been here. I was in my 20s in San Francisco working front of the house as a bartender and got my heart broken from my very first girlfriend. My brother was in grad school here at Emerson and said, you can always come and stay as long as you want or as little as you want. And I thought, no, that's ridiculous. I'm fine. 2 weeks later, sheds tears, picks up 2 duffel bags, and moved here.
So that was fake news I read, because I read it in a couple of places.
Fake news, yes.
Okay. You also said, maybe this isn't true either.
No, we just don't even know what.
Okay. That you had a high school teacher who encouraged you all through school.
Kurt Kettenberg was this really bizarre program in Northern California at our high school specifically. It was a pilot program to split schools into different types of schools. There was C-Tech, which was how everyone got straight A's and got into college and did no work. I joined the School of the Humanities, which was more arts and literature based. Kurt Kettenberg, I had him as a teacher from 9th grade all the way into my senior year. And he was one of the first people that began to taught me how to think and how to recognize that there's more there always. So he was deeply influential in my life, and super grateful to him.
Did he you have this cooking plan going? Or?
No.
Okay.
Cooking was not ever a plan. Never. Like, it was just until I was in it and thought, oh, well, shit, here I am. I had every intention of being an attorney, or the problem is I didn't know how to go to school and like sit in class and get my work done.
But I heard in California you could just take the bar and not go to school.
Somebody should have told me that about 20 years ago. So, yeah, because I would have done something dumb like that. It would have been like, I'll just take the bar. CC multiple people in jail who are like, I shouldn't be here.
So your first real serious job was at Todd English's Bonfire?
As a cook, yes.
Okay, so tell the story of how you came in one way and...
I was working at the Ritz-Carlton. I was very young, and I got hired to be a bar manager at the new Ritz-Carlton when there was still the old Ritz-Carlton. So I was working in the Ritz. It was in over my head. This is my favorite story to tell, and I think it's as shameful as it is hilarious. My food and beverage director hated me, rightfully so. And I was doing the initial liquor order for Journey in the back lot, and I could hear him stomping down the hallway, like, and I was like, Tiffani! And I'm like, oh God. I will not tell you what his name is because it's not fair to him. Comes running down the hallway to me, has the liquor order in front of him, the invoice. Tiffani, you ordered 4 cases of Fernet, because San Francisco drinks Fernet like it's water. The city of San Francisco drinks more Fernet than all of Italy. Not in healthy ways. And it's the Ritz-Carlton. It's at a level that I haven't really played at yet. It's like, you ordered 4 cases of Fernet. And without skipping a beat or understanding what was actually happening, I looked at him and I said, Jim, you're right. It's not enough. I'm pretty sure the Ritz-Carlton's still sitting on all of those cases of Fernet. Either way, I was super in over my head, really bad at my job, didn't know what I was doing. And September 11th happened. And I was here without my family. My brother had since moved, so I didn't feel alone. I was alone. And I just, I was at an age where invincibility is a character trait. And had never considered my life, or that you get one shot at this and then it belongs to you and you can do with it what you want. And I just couldn't continue doing what I was doing. So I gave notice and left. I resigned, and I have no idea why I walked by Bonfire when it was not open and said I want to work there. I have no idea. I didn't know who Todd was.
Oh, you didn't?
No, no idea. I didn't even know what a celebrity chef was. No idea. Couldn't get an interview. I just wanted to bartend and hang out and get to know Boston and have some fun. Couldn't get an interview. Eventually marched my little hiney into HR in the Park Plaza and said, will someone please talk to me? Finally spoke to the general manager of the restaurant. She said, I don't have anything that would suit you at this point. I said, what do you have? She said, I have a busser position. I said, sure, I'll do that. She was like, resume, you want to do that? And I was like, whatever, give me a job. So I bussed tables for like 2 days, and then I started running, which is running food to tables. And then I became the expediter, which is the liaison between the kitchen and the front of the house. Tells people what the kitchen needs, take what the kitchen gives you food-wise, and make sure it gets to the right people, right seat numbers, what have you.
It's a pretty responsible job.
The maestro, really. There's the 2 unsung positions in restaurants they're the catchers. Like, the catcher never gets the glory, but the catcher 100% calls the game. The person working the door and the expediter. Without those 2 positions, it does not happen.
So how did you get from busser to...
So I was at they needed someone at Expo, and I just learned how to do it, and it was fast and fun, and I liked it. Then I started watching the kitchen, and it felt like a sport with chaos and artistry. And it was not the food that I was attracted to at all. It was the movement of the kitchen and the pace of it and the chaos of it.
Choreography.
In the choreography. I competitive dancer, cheerleader growing up. And so I asked if I could learn a station, if I could learn to cook, and they laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed. And so 2 months of just being the most annoying human to my chef, he said, fine, it's only to get you to shut up. And when you quit, not if, when, you have to come back and be the expediter. You can't leave the restaurant. And I said, okay. I started working the hot app station on a Tuesday night. We were also cooking all the food for Whiskey Park. It was also the world's largest menu for no good reason.
Because it was taught English.
Because it was taught English.
For those of you who don't know, he had a restaurant in Charlestown called Olives, and he took that to New York and Las Vegas and various other places, with dragging his ego behind him.
I traveled and cooked with him for 2 years. Like,
oh, really?
Yeah.
It's like personal, like his.
I opened restaurants for him. I did events for him. Yeah, and then when I wasn't doing that, I was the sous chef at Olives. So yeah, Todd was a big deal, which I didn't know at the time. Ultimately became very close with him. I have a love, impossible to hate, but very angry and disappointed at you relationship with Todd. His sister, before she passed, became one of my closest friends. I adore his family.
So
complicated.
Yes. Well,
this relationship is checkbox complicated.
Kitchens are complicated.
Life is complicated.
Yes. And hopefully this interview won't be complicated.
I have a feeling I've already taken it off the rails.
Okay, so
sorry.
We have heard since the Me Too movement about women working in male-dominated kitchens and how, I mean, we haven't heard the half of it, I'm sure.
No.
How did you get through that? I mean, you're obviously feisty and stand up for yourself, but could you at, age 25?
No. I don't know, and I don't know that I am through it. And I don't know to what level the things that have happened have affected me and caused trauma in my life. And not just to me, to others. I don't know the answer to any of this yet. My therapist and I are talking about it a lot and have been for a long time.
We should have invited her.
Yeah, she's amazing. That's not good. That's a rabbit hole. Focuses myself, breathes. There's so much abuse in our industry. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I got through it. I think I just wanted to be better than them at cooking, at whatever, and them is a generalization for like every guy I've ever cooked with. Sorry. I'm deeply competitive, like to my core, and I think that's probably what got me through it. I am still, but I'm not through it. There are people in this city that are actively hurting people. And that's not me saying, like, trash this person, I want this person's life ruined. That's me saying this person is ruining lives of people that are working for them. People are spending their time professionally to learn how to be hospitable, to treat you guys well, because you choose to spend your money and your time with us, and that's a gift. And to hurt people, to take women and make them crazy or gaslight them or make them feel like this is just how the industry is and that's your problem, and to date women that work underneath you and they'll never know if they're doing the job right or if they're just getting by because they're spending off hours time with you. It is horrendous, and it breaks young women down in a way that is so difficult and almost impossible to piece it all back together. And so I have no fucking chill about this and the abuse. I refuse to, and I will not shut my mouth, and I will not be quieter, and anything shy of getting my butt sued, I'm gonna say all the words.
So you worked for Danielle Boulou and Hélène Decazes.
Puts it back on track, yes.
Okay. And are those kitchens like that? I mean, I sort of picture, I haven't been in a kitchen like that, but I sort of picture something that is very organized.
Yes.
And people, I know someone who worked for Thomas Keller at Per Se, and there was no talking allowed for 8 hours.
Correct. Those kitchens were not abusive in ways that are intimate. They were highly structured kitchens that were entangled and promoted abuse through hierarchy under the guise of excellence.
So can you give me an example? Nothing was ever good enough?
That's
An understatement.
an understatement. And it's not that the lamb is problematic and the lamb is messed up. It's that you're effed up, and it's you. It feels like someone's just pushing it into you. And if we don't get 4 stars, it's because of you. And throwing pans, screaming, like I've seen chefs in full rage blackouts. Specifically, a couple that have no memory of it after it's literally like an alcoholic blackout.
Tossing.
Screaming, red in the face, shaking, no actual reality happening in that human at that moment. And in looking back on all of this and living through it, I have learned to understand that I have a responsibility to be empathetic, because hurt people. And they're not just doing this for fun. They're deeply hurt. Their trauma is also not my problem, but I try to remind myself to be empathetic.
You made a national name for yourself in 2006 on the first season of Bravo's Top Chef.
Boy, did I.
When no one knew quite how popular the show would become, and now they're in season 17. How did they find you, and where were you working at the time?
I was working for Daniel Blue at the Wynn. I had moved to Las Vegas. They'd called me to come work for him through a couple of other chefs that I knew. And no one had seen Top Chef yet. All I'd seen is Hell's Kitchen, and they were actively seeking people to come on the show. I think, they had kind of a difficult time casting it. Reality TV wasn't quite what it is now, obviously. And so they came looking through the kitchens of the Wynn Hotel, and started speaking with the producers, and I said, no, I've not worked this hard to be screamed at or called a donkey or demeaned. As all I had was Hell's Kitchen as a reference point. I thought, that's not happening. And then they said they were the people that did Project Runway, and that wasn't their goal. They wanted it to be work-based. And after convincing my mother that they were really from NBC Universal and they weren't serial killers that were going to take me out in the desert and kill me, I said yes. And it has been as rewarding as it has been devastating.
So the Washington Post said that one of the reasons Top Chef was successful was that viewers loved the drama. And how long does it take to tape a single episode, and to what extent are they editing for that drama?
The Washington Post also said that one of the best reasons to watch Top Chef is to hate me.
I wasn't going to say that.
Yeah.
Well, there was a lot of name calling. I'm not going to dignify it by repeating it. And my students who watched the season in real time said that you were robbed of the winner's post. They're very sure of that. So how did you recover from all those highs and lows? They're throwing competitions at you that are absurd.
And fun.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. It's physically demanding, and you have to think about cooking in a way that you've probably never thought about it. I mean, it's not, you're not making fine cuisine. You're making
Trying.
something you're making something to please the judges.
Right,
which
exactly.
after a while you must catch on to.
Yes. I mean, we could sit here for 4 hours and talk about this and still not scratch the surface. I attempted to recover myself. First of all, I'm glad that I didn't win, because in all of this, and I can tell you how toxic the things that happened on the show were, I also accept responsibility for some of my bad behavior on that show and some of the things I said that, in or out of context, it doesn't matter. I said it, and I should not have. And I had so much anger just rolling through me. Obviously, like, we're talking about the kitchens that I was raised in, and so all of that was still in me. And I think in some ways, had I won, it would have validated that anger and not allowed me to see myself and what needed to change and who I wanted to be versus who I thought it was.
So I want to just interrupt here for 1 second. The guy who did win went on to open 3 restaurants in New York City and close them all.
I do not want this to be a, like, look how Tiffani has bested Harold. Harold Dieterle is a very good guy.
Okay.
He is a gentle soul. He's a very good cook. I think he just got tired of working 90-hour weeks and not making any money. Has a gorgeous wife and a child that he wanted to spend time with. The show needed a good-looking, controversial person. It's a business. Top Chef would not have succeeded had I won the first season. No way. I get it.
So how did you recover?
Not sure I have. I went on an apology tour for 10 years, making sure that every last person that met me walked away knowing that I was not that person. Charming the pants off of people, trying to be kinder, which is also not the worst exercise to do in your life. It wasn't disingenuous, but I became exceedingly aware of it and clear about it, and made that my personal goal. And then, through lots of work with my therapist and my heart and my head, at some point said, I'm done fucking apologizing. I'm done. Because that's now another layer of trauma that I'm adding on top of this. Excuse me with my mouth. I'm sorry. Not really.
So
sorry.
So people who meet you now...
I'm just like, she's so elegant, and I'm like, F-bombs, F-bombs, F-bombs. Pull it together.
People who meet you now associate that with you still, or not?
The show and the stuff?
Yeah.
Oh, if one more person says I'm not your bitch to me and thinks it's funny, I didn't say it. It was said to me. I'm tired of it. I'm exhausted. They asked me they're shooting All Stars right now. They asked me to come back and shoot All Stars. I was like, you've lost your minds.
But you did go back.
I did.
Okay.
I needed to understand the experience from a different way. I did not go back to win. I went back to have a platform where I could change people's thought process around me. Mission accomplished.
Good.
I got to a point in All Stars where I could feel it all coming. And it was competitive and I wanted it. And candidly, the men on the show at All Stars were disgusting. In the house, they were disgusting. Myself and another chef talked to the producers about the level
Rude
of disgusting, misogynistic, graphically talking about things that no one should ever. And we're all in vans together. Can't get away from it. And we're mic'd. All of the audio hears it. They know it's happening. And myself and another young queer chef approached the producers and said, this is not good. We were both eliminated in a surprise double elimination the next competition. So I was like, bye.
So that was the end of Top Chef. Okay, but now you're on Chopped as a judge.
You know, the world is a magical place.
Okay. But I have to tell you...
Sips tea.
You are genuinely helpful to those contestants. I think that a lot of the judges are just phoning it in. They have to find something nice, and they have to find something they don't like, and I think that you're really looking at that plate and saying to this chef, you could have done X, Y, Z, and it would have been one notch better. I mean, I've noticed that.
Thank you. To defend Chopped specifically, that show has been on for...
Okay, we should tell them what happens for the 5 people who don't know.
Does anyone not know what Chopped is?
What the show
It's reality competition show, 4 chefs, 1 hour, 3 rounds, winner take all, $10,000, and they cook for the judges.
But they cook from a basket of very
bizarro ingredients. That I feel like there's some sort of sadism with like the culinary producers there. They're so brilliant, and then they're like, here's a cake made out of, but I'm like, what is this? It forces people to really like dig deep and use all the technique that they have understood and been using to think differently about food that's in front of them. So to defend the judges on Chopped, we just taped the 600th episode of Chopped, 9 years. That team takes it serious every day. Every judge there understands that these kids are coming and they mean it, and they're so thrilled to be there, and they can't wait to do this. And, you know, I think competition reality of this form is so different and consequential. It's not like Survivor, and I've always said this, if you can't live on an island hungry for 2 months, like whatever, go back and be a banker. Not a big deal. If you if you go on a show that is asking you to do the thing that you do and do it well, and you fail at that, it's very hard to go back and see yourself in a positive light professionally and also personally.
Are you waiting while all those people are cooking all those dishes?
We're watching them. Mm-hmm. We're watching the whole time. Depends on the shoot. A quick day is 13 hours. A long day can be 16. So
you're watching them. Does it sometimes kill you to
Yes.
see their missteps? Because I'm watching it from the treadmill, and it's killing me. So.
Girl, take the show out of it. Treadmills kill me, period. End of story. No show. What kills me is seeing little things that I know that they're not seeing because they're nervous. Mm-hmm. And I just want to go, baby, grab that. I want to keep them from heartbreak, from things that don't have to break their heart. Mm-hmm. I can't have to shut my mouth.
And they're all usually on the show because they have something they want to do with the money that's very heartbreaking.
Touching. They're vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Chopped has allowed us to have conversations about mental health in our industry, about anxiety, about safe spaces. And this next generation, I think we're calling them the healers generation after the millennials, are extraordinary. Not that millennials aren't extraordinary.
Okay, can we talk about...
They're extraordinary.
Can we talk about
your
staff meeting about the millennials and what they need to learn?
So we had some catering mishaps that happened at Sweet Cheeks. They were calling us for information. We weren't getting back to them, and so which is terrifying for me. And we had to really dig into what was happening. And our catering manager was like, I didn't get these emails. I don't know. Messages weren't being taken properly at the front desk when you call us. So we are now getting a second phone number dedicated to catering at Sweet Cheeks, so it does not go through the front desk. We are also having all these conversations and retraining everyone on our team. What we figured out on Friday is we are working with an entire generation of young people that have never answered a landline. I know, right? And they can't just go, just call them back, the number's right here. Take a message. Oh, I did. Steve. Steve who? So there's no phone numbers attached to that. Oh, he'll call back. It's just can't.
So, what kind of a boss are you? Are you today? Are you different than the boss who started
I hope
Sweet
so.
Cheeks?
Yeah.
And what were there missteps that you made that you would like to go back and redo?
No, I'm perfect. No, I don't want to redo maybe two or three things. But I don't want to redo them because I've learned from them, right? You can't learn from mistakes that you don't make. I'm a very different boss now, still not the boss I want to be. The difference is understanding the weight of the responsibility that I have now. It used to be about me. Look how good my food is. Look how nice my... It's not about me. It's about all of you coming in and choosing to spend your money and your time and to celebrate whatever you're celebrating, or spending time with people that you love and your friends, and us creating an environment that embraces that and allows you to do that in the most loving, exquisite environment that we possibly can. It's about my kids that work for me. That, we joke all the time that they keep getting younger and I keep getting older. We're an industry that is almost, it's not exclusively, but it's 99% young people who are in their 20s, and I feel like the thing we don't ever talk about is how much your 20s suck. Everyone's like, your 20s are great. No, they're not. They're terrible. And they're learning how to be humans, and they're confused, and they're scared, and they're, drinking a lot, and they're broke all the time, and then they're learning how to be humans. And so the responsibility of that is weighty. And also why abuse pisses me off so much. Because they're human nerve endings that are trying to figure out how to navigate things. And to not understand that responsibility as someone that runs a company is abhorrent to me. For me, my job is to be as empathetic as I possibly can in all ways and all things, but still have boundaries, where at some point, I'm gonna tell you what the consequences are. You're gonna do that thing again. I'm gonna remind you for the last time about the consequences, and then if you're still gonna do it again, you're gonna go. Even as much as I might love you, or see you, or understand the trauma that you're in, or the problems, whatever, I now have 211 other people to protect. And you are identifying yourself as someone who is not ready to be protected and cannot come to the table and be a human. And so I cannot be around you right now. And you can't be in my company. It's excruciating.
In 2010, you became the executive chef of Roca in the Southend.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a stylish, modern Italian restaurant on a strip that really didn't have, Harrison Avenue, I think,
Mm-hmm.
didn't have much going on there. And without warning, the owners closed on New Year's Eve, that same year that you went. That must have been pretty stunning.
Beyond.
I mean, was it like after the guests left and there were a couple bottles of champagne left, somebody popped the champagne and said, "Happy New Year, we're closing"?
That would have been more elegant. This is after we had people living upstairs coming down and saying, "God, we're gonna miss you guys." We're like, what? I approached the owners. I asked them if we were closing. What is happening? It's none of your business. We're in the fight of our life right now. Door closes. Huh? We're not closing. Okay. And I still, all of the hierarchy of ownership, chef structures, they own the restaurant. If they're telling me it's none of my business, it's none of my business. I gotta go. New Year's Eve, I came up to do our final pre-service for the tasting when we had 2 seatings and just explain all the, trappings one more time. And right after that happened, the owners said, "Okay, have a great service. Tonight is our last service. We're closing."
And expected good food?
And expected people to stay. Mm-hmm. Like the front of the house is gonna stay because they make a lot of money that night. Mm-hmm. But everyone downstairs is still making $12 an hour. And they didn't have the kitchen upstairs when they told them. They told the front of the house and me, so I had the responsibility of going downstairs. And for me, the rules were out the window that night. So I cracked a bunch of beers and put them on everyone's station and said, "We're gonna get through this." And I believe this, whatever other people do, it doesn't change who you are. And we are the people that show up every day and do our jobs.
You're an owner now. If you decided to close a restaurant, is there a way to do it?
I actually think I'm so superstitious, I can't answer that question.
Okay, that's good. I'm also superstitious. You took some of the Roca staff with you to Sweet Cheeks?
Yes. I took Dan Rea, who is my culinary director of operations to this day, and Jordan Girton, who was Dan was my sous chef. Jordan Girton was a line cook at Roca. She will now be the general manager of our 2 food hall concepts that we're opening this year.
You have as much presence in the Fenway as the Red Sox. You have 4. You have 4 establishments in a row.
And I had a better season. What?
Touche. What was that area?
Sorry, Red Sox, love you.
Yeah. What was it like down there in 2011?
Fenway was where I used to cream home from, right? Like I was at Avalon every Sunday night.
Yeah.
Your 20s suck. So it was gas stations, liquor stores, and gay bars. Very rough. Steve Samuels had the foresight to see what this could be. And I think still didn't understand maybe as much as he does now what it was. I think there was an assumption that the Fenway Triangle trilogy, the building that Sweet Cheeks and Tiger Mama, Fool's Errand are in, would be an extension of Route 9, more of a suburban feel. And the first couple of incarnations did not work. Burton's, who's great, and Cambridge One just didn't work. So it felt really different. I mean, we would park. We couldn't afford parking under the building. Like my Subaru, parked it next to Sweet Cheeks that used to be this like really gross building with a lot of rats in it. It's now, the Pierce is now where Orfano is. But there was dumpsters near these things that were not parking spaces that we were using for parking spaces. And like, no joke, at least once every month or so, someone would come running in and be like, "Chef, you gotta move your car, the dumpster's on fire again." So Fenway, in 2011 was a literal dumpster fire.
So, Sweet Cheeks really, Sweet Cheeks and Tasty Burger.
Mm-hmm. Tasty was there first. Dave Dubois was there first.
You were the first two people to really start turning the area around.
Mm-hmm.
And were there many apartments there at the time?
There were not as many as there are now, but the Fenway Triangle Trilogy building was there. So not a ton of people like living there yet. Also not seen as a desirable living neighborhood just yet. Significant amount of people that live in our building are from other countries, and they live there because of the access to the hospitals that are the best in the world, because they have sick family members. So that's a significant amount of the population that lives above us, which is just interesting. And heartbreaking.
If this isn't fake news, you were quoted as saying that Boston is a tough city to open a restaurant in.
Every city is a tough city to open a restaurant in, but yes, Boston's tough.
So how did you do that first one? You obviously you got some investors together.
I have to be careful here. I was approached by a business partner. I have since ended that relationship. That's all I can say. That person decided that that our relationship could, I have to be so careful here. I can't, I'm sorry.
Okay, but then did you go to the bank for 2, 3, and 4?
For 2, and this is a joyous thing to talk about. It's funny, if you guys have ever seen the movie Chef, there's this conversation about investors and young chefs are like, I'm gonna open my restaurant in an old firehouse and it's gonna be gorgeous, whatever, all the things that you think that youth. And I'm only gonna take money from good people that matter to me and see the world the way I see it. And at the end of it, you're like, oh, you're part of the cartel? I'll take it. Gotta get open. So we have great investors. I have been active in the LGBTQIA community for a very long time. So I found myself being the auction item at a lot of dinners with people that were that had means that have been very kind to help us out. So every one of our investors, I paid Sweet Cheeks back in 30 months. Tiger was 3 years. Everyone that is invested in Tiger Mama is also in Orfano.
That's pretty amazing.
It is, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, we're proud of it.
Okay, so this is just a question for me personally, and I'll let the audience listen to the answer. You make biscuits at Sweet Cheeks that are really fabulous. I've probably made several hundred biscuits. So they come in a little jar, in a little tin, a big tin, that's lined with butcher paper, and there's a little jar of honey butter. They're very high. They don't have the metallic smack of baking powder, so they obviously don't have too much baking powder or enough to balance it. So what's your secret?
Girl, no.
Okay.
Those things pay my mortgage. I'm not telling you.
Okay. On your Sweet Cheeks website, you charge a 3% kitchen appreciation fee. And
all of
customer,
all
all
of
the
them.
websites,
All the restaurants.
And all the customers can opt out if they want, and the money goes directly to the back of the house.
Directly to the back of the house. If they even raise an eyebrow, we take it off. The exception to it is if you are having only cocktails that the kitchen has not touched and has nothing to do with the preparation of, we take it off. We do not put 3% on any sort of cocktail bill, where it's just cocktails. If you have cocktails and potatoes, you get it. And thank you to all of you who are willing to pay it or to talk to us about it. The obvious question is, why don't you just raise your prices? It doesn't work that way. First of all, I cut my head off because my restaurants are going to be more expensive than the competition down the street that is poorly trying to do the same thing. Just kidding. Not kidding. So if I raise my prices, all of the flow-throughs of the expenses that I have to deal with, rent, insurance, payroll tax, you name it, have to flow through raising those prices. So it ultimately doesn't shake out. We pay more payroll tax than we would by doing that because of the flow-through. It goes to the cooks. It also has a lot of like sort of back end benefits. One of them being, when you work front of the house and you are having a night that is really hard and busy and all the things, you know, you can be in the middle of it and being like, I hate this. And then at the end of the night, you start counting your dollars and you're like, well, that wasn't so bad. You make more money the busier you are. And that does not hold true for the kitchen. But when the 3% comes on, the busier we are, they then benefit from that as well. It has the other added benefit for me, which it's Boston 2019, it's possible to find people and they haven't figured this out, that the more efficient they are, the bigger the pool is for less people. They haven't figured that out.
Orfano, your latest venture, you call it a modern expression of a timeless Italian-American restaurant, and one of your slogans is "Sorry, Nonna."
Mm-hmm.
A lot of irony going on there. On the glass front doors etched in glass, on the front doors etched in glass are "Leave the gun" on the left panel and "Take the cannoli" on the right. There's a sign in the one of the restrooms that says "No smoky, no pokey, no cokey, please hand washy." Someone was having some
Having
fun.
my shit put back on me is exhausting.
You're obviously having fun.
Yes. Fun is it's one of the foundations of our company. Respect, kindness, equality, diversity, fun.
And then you told me in the green room you have a policy about who you hire.
No assholes.
Okay. Okay, now we're going to play a game I call Buy or Sell.
Ooh.
Buy means yes, and sell means no.
Little nervous.
Okay, they're easy. Ragu in a bottle.
Sell.
Bud Light.
Buy.
Frozen garlic bread.
Oh, buy.
Garlic powder.
Buy.
Hoisin sauce.
Buy, but don't use it like it's garlic. It's not garlic. It's a different ingredient.
Okay. Hoisin sauce.
Buy.
Farm Thai shrimp.
Only if you have to.
Costco meat.
Sell.
New Zealand lamb.
CC, someone tell my mom, please.
New Zealand lamb.
I don't like lamb. I know, just break your heart. I love cooking it. I don't like eating it. I literally have had other chefs that said, I had a chef tell me you should work on your palate. You can imagine my response was.
They meant colors, not tongue. Gas grills.
Controversy. Buy, because if you want to make... I believe in your life being easy in a way that feels good for you. So if
Sounds like a buy.
Yeah, it's a buy.
Okay. Deli potato salad.
Buy, but with a lot of hot sauce.
Okay. Commercial salsa.
Sell.
Frozen gnocchi.
Sell. I met Kelly, and she had frozen gnocchi in her freezer, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to work.
Oh, she's lucky. Yeah, lucky she made it.
Yeah, and then she came to my house, and I had canned chicken and peanut butter and a bunch of champagne, and she was like, I don't know if this is going to work.
Canned chicken stock.
Oh, sell.
Supermarket rotisserie chicken.
Buy all of them.
Packaged barbecue rubs.
Gross. Sell.
Wine with barbecue.
Anything you want with barbecue.
Impossible burgers.
Not sure.
Haven't had.
I've had them.
Okay.
Just not sure.
Okay, some questions. Let's see. When people are so combative and hurt people for the sake of hurting, what tips do you have for food workers who easily get hurt? Okay, this person has not taken my food journalism class because you don't use the word hurt 3 times in one sentence.
Which was a little hurtful. Sheryl? Yeah, it's Boston 2019. This is the thing that bothers me the most. When people say, well, what about the workers? Like, if we take the chef down to the restaurateur that's doing this, if they get taken down or whatever, what happens to the workers? Then they don't work in an abusive environment. Go find another goddamn job. Go find another job.
Why did you name a restaurant Fool's Errand?
Because it was the thing that we should not have done, and we knew it.
How's it going?
It's going great. There's no chairs. Bostonians are tough.
Yeah.
If it were 2 feet bigger, I would be getting the bricks beat off of me for not having chairs in there. But you physically walk in, you're like, oh, I get it. Wait, you can't.
But in Europe, there are loads of cafes that have...
In Europe, where Bostonians go and love going there and then come home and go, why aren't there chairs?
Okay. When you're feeling down, what dish lifts you up?
Vodka.
Let's end there. Okay, we're going to cook.
This was fun. I'm going to take this off so I can put on an apron. I don't know how to cook anything if I don't have an apron around my body. Didn't sign up for all of that. Okay, so you all had a little taste of this. We mentioned the tomatoes coming off of the Orfano menu. So I would eat a cheeseburger and fried chicken every day if I could. And as it turns out, I've learned that adult humans can't actually do that all the time, or you'll die. So my goal is always to make salads that have the appeal of a cheeseburger, or something that's that delicious and that unctuous and that sneaky and good. So the thought with this was I like playing with textures and flavors a lot. I like playing with raw and cooked, similar ingredients done in different ways. How can we consider squash? And so it's, and it's fall and everything is squash, but there's a little bit of don't totally want to be like a basic bee with all the squash things. How do I look at this from the lens of Orfano, which is Italian classics taken apart, put back together in ways that we want to do. So I'll start with the first thing that we make, which is we have something in the company that's called fish sauce vinaigrette. It is, besides the biscuits, maybe my best contribution to food.
But you're telling us, and you're not telling us the biscuits.
Yeah, no, this doesn't pay my mortgage. You don't even know that it's in things. So it starts with, usually it starts with sugar first, and some fish sauce and champagne vinegar, and then olive oil and garlic. That's fish sauce vinaigrette. I wanted to change it for this salad because I wanted whispers of fall and leaves, and I want it to be a little bit rounder and a little bit more comforting. So instead of sugar, we are putting fish sauce in our little bowl here. Everyone familiar with fish sauce? Fish sauce. I'm going to start passing this around so you guys can smell it. Do not drop this. It's heinously gross. Fish sauce is essentially anchovies. It's made in Vietnam. Well, actually, garum was made in Roman times. So fish that's put in water and left alone for a very long time until it becomes this super funky, umami-laden juice. Can you smell it in the room? I can smell it all over me. It's a good day when we drop that case, when the delivery guy drops the fish sauce case on the way in. It's magic. It is truly magic. So yes, it matterizes. It needs to be kept in your refrigerator. It does not last longer than 3 weeks. People keep fish sauce around forever, and it starts in a bad place. It goes to a horrendous place. So fish sauce goes down. I'm just going to grate a little bit of garlic, and not my fingers. Raw garlic. I have almost stopped slicing garlic. Everything is on a mandolin for me now, almost everything. So that goes in together, and I'm just going to allow that to kind of kick around for a second and let the garlic bloom in the fish sauce. So we've now taken 2 exceedingly pungent ingredients and said, meet each other, you'll get along. And they're saying, this is awful. And they're right. So with that, we have all umami and garlic, so some heat from the garlic. This is white balsamic vinegar, which doesn't really ever exist, so it's grape must that's been cooked with less time on the skin. Is there a difference between balsamic and white balsamic flavor-wise? Subtle, but I wanted this to be a little bit of a mind trick. I wanted it to be light in color and really punchy in flavor, where you didn't see this balsamic vinegar coming at you. Does that make sense? So, sort of equal parts. This is when I would then normally just add olive oil, but again, I wanted this to be rounder. I wanted it to be nutty, whisper that fall is here without being too heavy, without being wintry. So walnut oil that has this gorgeous nutty smell to it. It smells like walnuts, obviously. So mixing that in, a little bit of salt, and then you let that hang out for a while and let all those flavors come together. This is great on squash. The fish sauce vinaigrette is magic on tomatoes. It takes tomatoes and just takes them off the chain. It's so good. So if you've eaten at Tiger Mama, you've had it more times than you know. We put that shit in everything. Okay, this is our butternut squash that we have peeled and then sliced on a mandolin to make sure that it's really thin. This is...
What happens when you get to the column of seeds?
We use an apple core and we take them out. So we put these in here and let these hang out for just a minute. I want them to just slightly cook, right? I don't want them to be slimy and cooked. I want them to still maintain a little bit of texture because I've taken spaghetti squash and roasted it and then broiled it to where I've taken this very sweet, fibrous vegetable and made sure that it is, anyone else want a swig of fish sauce? And made sure that it's now a little bit softer, still has some texture. And then instead of just roasting it a little bit, we've really, really pushed it. So we have raw, a little bit cooked, very, very roasted, almost burnt squash, so that we, again, mirroring those nutty flavors, a little bit of charcoal. This is, for me, I wanted this to taste like when you walk outside and it's cold for the first time and someone started a fire, and you have that feeling in the air. That's what I wanted out of this. So,
is that also butternut?
This is spaghetti squash. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite things to do, it's a little bit late now, in late summer, early fall, when you start seeing spaghetti squash and you still have tomatoes and zucchini hanging out, is to make a spaghetti squash primavera, and I use Marcella Hazan's tomato sauce, and we were just talking about it before, and I can eat a bowl this big of it. No, I can. And I don't feel like a jerk, because I'm not eating like a bunch of, not that pasta makes you feel like a jerk, but a bowl of pasta like that would make me feel like a jerk. Where was I? Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and just start plating this as I go. This is not the most complicated salad I've ever made in my life, but I think what I like to do with demos like this is something that you guys can really take home and actually care to do. I once watched a very famous chef on the Today Show the day after Thanksgiving making stuffing agnolotti, and I just thought, why? Like, I don't want bread stuffed in my pasta, A. B, everyone's tired of cooking. Like, just show them how to make a great turkey sandwich. What are you doing? Dumb like you. No shade. Okay, so this is cooked just a little bit. It needs just a tiny bit more vinegar. I have shaky hands today, guys, and I don't know why. I'm not usually a shaky hand kind of girl. All right, Trevice. So we have sweet and funky. Now we have sweet and roasted and rounded, right, with the spaghetti squash. Now we are taking the Trevice, which is, chorizo is a very traditional Italian chicory. It is super bitter. Bitter is one of the most under-celebrated flavors and qualities in food. Love bitter. So we're gonna put a little bit of this in, the Trevice. And so the Trevice is gonna play with all of those sweetness, funkiness, all the things. Like, this is really, it's funny, it's Italian food, but we're really thinking of it through almost more of an Asian lens of like hitting all the sweet, salty, sour, bitter qualities. I'm gonna use my hands because that's what I do. I usually have gloves on, don't worry. You'll be safe. It took me about 45 minutes to figure out how to plate this salad in the lobby. You guys were like, what's wrong with her hands? And I was like, I don't know, can't get them to work. We talk about pushing with grace in my company.
So you're actually pushing them through the little O's.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I guess. Sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Cheryl, I'm doing that.
Okay.
Intentionally. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we're just putting this on top so you'll get all this, raw, kind of crunchy qualities on top with the chorizo and with the squash, and then you'll get the soft spaghetti squash underneath. We then roasted walnuts that I'm not always a huge fan of. They're kind of like the blackberry of the nut world. They're always going to break your heart. They're going to look great and promise to deliver, and then they just don't. So we're using the walnuts as a delivery service for black pepper. So I want, I have the bitter, and now I want a little bit more of the heat of the garlic, and then I want something, again, that feels like a fire in the fall, that has like some warming, kind of soothing qualities to it. And then we really had so much conversation in working on this salad about whether it needed parsley or not. I'm still not sure if it does or not, but my chef assured me that it doesn't and told me to stop overthinking everything. And I was like, cool, I'll stop overthinking everything. It's my job. Ubriaco cheese from the Veneto region of Italy. It's a cow's milk cheese, semi-soft. It is called drunken cheese because it is submerged in Prosecco and the lees of winemaking. So essentially all of the terroir, all of the sticks and seeds and skins that are the byproduct of making wine. It loves Prosecco, and it loves very assertive red wine. And it loves the salad. So it has almost like a Parmesan quality to it, but a little bit softer and a little funkier and a little more texturally soft. So we're finishing it with that. So you have the soft cheese that has a little bit of funk to it with the fish sauce vinaigrette, peppered walnuts, the bitter Treviso, and the very roasty, toasty, sweet spaghetti squash underneath. That's it.
Hold it up so everyone can see.
Can you?
This way. The camera will get you.
I'm so tired.
The camera will get you.
Good.
This way.
Here we go.
Can you all see it? Looks beautiful.
Thank you. Can I just thank you? I mean, we talk about, everyone's like, yeah, your industry's so hard. It is hard, and opening restaurants is hard. And I love this restaurant so much, and it's so special and different, and I just want to make sure that we're taking care of it to the best of our abilities. I'm so tired. It takes it out of you. It really does. I'm going to go home and drug myself to sleep. But this has been so energizing and lovely, and I don't have any patience for BS conversations, so thank you for not asking me any BS questions.
Oh. Thank you all. That was great. That's really beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you all.
So if you had a cookbook, now you would be
what?
signing it.
Mm-hmm. I'm working on it. I can only do so many things at a time. Because I will write a cookbook, but I want it to be in my voice. I want to write it. I don't want someone else writing it for me. And that takes time, and it takes, candidly, emotional space I don't have right now. So that's all.
Okay, thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Yes.